51st presidential election took place on November 8th, 1988. As Ronald Reagan left office, the economy was strong and the military was stronger than ever, and Reagan called for the end of the Berlin Wall, which would lead to the demise of communist authority in the Eastern Bloc.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Tear it down. Reagan smash! Reagan smash!
And ease tensions between the Soviet Union, which would later lead to its demise.
Mr. President, did you reach a missile pact?
Well, you could say that. There was a missile, and something definitely got packed.
With all this success, Reagan's Vice President Bush was easily the clear choice, but he would face a somewhat fierce opponent from Kansas, Bob Dole. Remember him from my 1976 election video? He was Gerald Ford's running mate. But Bush would wipe the floor with Dole and this other guy, and in the convention, he laid out a tough-on-crime stance and would make a very famous promise.
My opponent now says he'll raise them as a last resort or a third resort. But when a politician talks like that, you know that's one resort he'll be checking into. And my opponent won't rule out raising taxes, but I will, and the Congress will push me to raise taxes, and I'll say no, and they'll push, and I'll say no, and they'll push again, and I'll say to them, read my lips. No new taxes.
Bush would pick Dan Quayle, a senator from Indiana, as his running mate. In the Democratic primaries, it was mainly a three-way race against Al Gore, a senator from Tennessee, Jesse Jackson, a civil rights activist and a pastor from South Carolina, and finally, Michael Dukakis, the governor of Massachusetts. It was mainly a battle between Jackson and Dukakis, and in Jackson's concession speech, he let out a mighty war cry.
Hold on and hold out. We must never surrender. America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. On tomorrow night and beyond. Keep hope alive. I love you very much. I love you very much.
Dukakis would manage to pull out the win for the nomination, while Jackson came in second, but Gore came in third. But Gore did mention something very interesting that Dukakis was blamed for, the Willie Horton incident, which I'll mention in a bit. Meanwhile, Dukakis would pick Lloyd Bentsen, a senator from Texas, as his running mate. Now, in this election, Americans cared about one issue, crime, and mainly the drug of cocaine. Wait a minute. This problem started under Reagan. I mean, it's not like Reagan sold missiles to Iran to fund this paramilitary group in Nicaragua that was smuggling cocaine to the US and also doing naughty stuff. And it wasn't like Reagan tried to cover it up and had someone else take the blame for it all. I guess we'll never know. But Bush and Dukakis were very different on crime. While Bush supported the death penalty, while Dukakis opposed it and recommended rehabilitation. But remember when Gore talked about the Willie Horton incident? Yeah, Bush didn't even have to make an attack on Dukakis about that. It was an independent group that made a whole commercial about it, which you can watch right now.
Bush and Dukakis on crime. Bush supports the death penalty for first-degree murderers. Dukakis not only opposes the death penalty, he allowed first-degree murderers to have weekend passes from prison. One was Willie Horton, who murdered a boy in a robbery, stabbing him 19 times. Despite a life sentence, Horton received 10 weekend passes from prison. Horton fled, kidnapped a young couple, stabbing the man and repeatedly raping his girlfriend. Weekend prison passes. Dukakis on crime.
At this point, Dukakis had a 15-point lead against Bush, but after that ad, it was gone like my dad, and Dukakis would go downhill. Even at a rally, he talked against foreign-owned factories at a foreign-owned factory in Missouri. You know, what's destroying this country is foreign-owned factories. Foreign countries coming here and exploiting the American worker. It makes me sick.
And people think politics are difficult to understand.
Bush would constantly criticize the caucus because the caucus wanted to lower military spending, but he did a photo shoot where he rode around in a tank. But that backfired so bad because it just made him look goofy and unserious. Even in the debates, he was basically being bullied by the moderator. Like, do you know how much you have to fumble to be bullied by the moderator? Now, the moment you've been waiting for, the results. Drum roll, please. George W. Bush won 427 electoral votes, and Michael Dukakis only won 111 electoral votes. George H.W. Bush won 53.4% of the popular vote, and Michael Dukakis won 45.7% of the popular vote. And for my fellow Californians out there, this was the last time California voted red in a presidential election. George H.W. Bush won, becoming the 41st president of the United States.
Made for you and me.